He's the tallest man on the radio, so sit right back and enjoy the show. Flying through the air like a ballistic missile. Here's your host, Ben Kissel.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing? Welcome to OK Bud Politics. I am Ben Kissel at Ben Kissel1, joined by Kyle Ploof.
Hello there.
At Kyle Ploof. You can watch live and contribute to the show. Go to patreon.com/diebud. We're in the middle of getting a new cool set, so we're going to look real fancy in the very near future. Can't wait.
Ooh.
It'll be awesome. Also, shoot us an email, okbudpod@gmail.com. Send us pictures of your animals, your cats, your dogs, your turtles, your opinions on politics. Obviously, everyone's got one, as everyone should be participating in our political system. Hopefully, this show helps educate folks on what is important and what is just noise. And that is where we're going to start today. Noise, 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 coming from Greta Thunberg. This is a story that is immensely aggravating and super annoying, of course, as the war continues to be out of hand in Gaza with Israel and Palestine. Greta Thunberg and friends have taken it upon their very Caucasian self to go on what is being called the selfie yacht under the guise of helping the people, the children specifically suffering in Gaza. Why do I say under the guise of? Because the boat basically contains cameras and a media presence, but nothing to really give anyone that is in need. So stop covering this person as I cover this person. It is the bane of my existence, as Greta Thunberg again pretends as if she's an activist, but she is an activist, if that term doesn't exist yet. Please allow me to bring it to the forefront and credit me with it. Activist Greta Thunberg. She is operating the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. Again, as many of these air quotes nonprofits go, I would love to know where the money is ending up, as all of them are dressed to the nines in the newest, hippest Gaza gear.
I would assume that boat's gas powered too, correct?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I'm sure something. Whatever EVs, we'll talk about that in a second. They also pollute quite a bit.
Yeah, this person who was saying, our world's dying because of energy and everything we're using, we need to stop gas. And then she's like, honk, honk.
Well, I mean, obviously, every time there's one of those large events with all the billionaires and millionaires and superstars who take their private jets in order to fight climate change, in reality, of course, they're just there mostly for money funneling, maybe a little bit of prostitution, getting their dicks tugged and their beans flicked.
That's the tugboat right there.
The last thing they care about is actually protecting the people of this world. According to Israel's defense minister, you know what his first name is?
Hit me.
Israel.
Oh.
The dude's got the most Jewish name I've ever heard. Guess what his last name is?
Palestine?
No. The most Jewish, I said.
Oh, Bagel?
Bro. Okay, you're sniffing around. You're almost there. You can actually do this. Israel's defense minister's name, the most Jewish name of all time. First name is Israel. You're on the right track with Bagel.
Oh, wow. Well, my next was Temple, so that's off.
No. Rye sandwiches. Cats.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
Israel
Delhi.
Cats. Yes, that is the name of Israel's defense minister. He says, I congratulate the IDF for the quick and safe takeover of the Madeleine flotilla to prevent them from breaking the blockade and reaching the shores of Gaza. He goes on to say, I instructed the IDF to show the flotilla passengers the video of the horrors of the October 7th massacre when they arrive at the port of Ashdod. Now, of course, the October 7th horrors, indeed, that is exactly what they were during that massacre. Of course, as time goes on, it'll be really interesting to see the origins of that massacre and what actually happened in order for it to occur, because it was exceptionally pre-planned, very well organized. This thing didn't just, come out of a drunken or a hemp-filled night in Palestine where they were like, let's go, the party is tomorrow, let's attack them. No, this was a pre-planned attack for a long, long time. And a lot of folks do smell a bit of a false flag operation, but we will get more information on that as time goes on when we have the hindsight of 2020. He explains it is appropriate that the anti-Semitic Greta and her fellow Hamas supporters see exactly who the Hamas terrorist organization they came to support and for whom they work for is. What atrocities they committed against women, the elderly, and children, and against whom Israel is fighting to defend itself. This is one of the areas where I think some folks who are trying to defend the people of Palestine, and of course the children of Palestine, the civilians of Palestine, which we all want to defend, this is one of the areas where oftentimes they will get a little bit too cozy with the idea that Hamas is somehow good. They are not good.
Yeah.
The queers for Hamas, all this stuff, they do not like you. They are another very strict religious orthodoxy that is led by men who are not good. That being said, of course, we can never lose sight of the humanitarian aspect involving the children and the civilians that are suffering, because the attacks coming from Israel are often done with a buckshot as opposed to a scalpel. But Greta Thunberg, please God, stop making money off the suffering of others. That's all that I see here, and that's all she's doing. It is a celebrity-driven passion that she has. It is not a passion to actually help people in that region. All right. Those are my 4 cents on the thing that's been annoying me all weekend.
I do like that they're saying flotilla instead of diesel-powered engine boat. It's got a nice little flow to it.
Well, yeah, that's true. All right, let's move on. This is a smaller story, but I think an interesting story. The third person from China has been arrested at a border in the United States, charged with smuggling illegal biological material into the U.S. from Wuhan, China. Now, I don't think this is controversial anymore, although it was for a long time because of all the misinformation and disinformation coming from all political sides regarding the origin of COVID. Thank God Jon Stewart was the only person on the left to come on Stephen Colbert's show and be like, so do you think it originated from somebody fucking a bat, or do you think COVID originated from the Coronavirus Institute of Wuhan?
Yes. Yeah, that was incredible.
That was incredible. And sadly, that was like, whoa, I can't believe he said that.
Yeah.
It's like, what world are we living in? Mm-hmm. Let's just take a quick pause. Can I bring Jerry in?
Yeah.
He's driving me nuts. Okay, quick pause.
Driving himself nuts.
I know. Jerry, come here. You're killing me.
Oh, he just got comfortable after all that.
He just had to get comfortable. It's just a cone. It's like
Yeah.
scraping, driving me nuts.
Yeah, and he's going in like the smallest corner and fucking smashing his head around.
Okay. You sleeping, buddy? Okay. All right. Let's see here. So, yes, okay, Jon Stewart, that's a nice little clip.
Yeah.
You would think that wouldn't have been controversial whatsoever. Sorry, just 1 second. You would have thought that wasn't going to be controversial whatsoever, but in the crazy world of COVID, it was.
Yeah, Stephen Colbert was really squirming in his chair that day.
He was like, oh no, Big Pharma pays for this entire show. Can you please not mention anything about it?
Yeah, we're sitting in a giant pill right now.
Thank you. I also, despite the fact that no one defends me, I defended Stephen Colbert on Cavuto on Fox Business when Colbert called Donald Trump Putin's cocksock or something like that. You know, it's a good little piece of humor. Why not? Let the jokes fly. It would, of course, be nice if late night television was a little bit more equal in their criticism, but nonetheless, we know who pays their bills. So, back to this story. There was a person named Sheng Han. Their full name I cannot pronounce, but we'll go with Sheng Han. They were arrested this past Sunday after landing at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport on a flight from Shanghai. Now, they should know when you land in Detroit, who you're going to be dealing with. Axel Foley.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Possibly Eminem.
Possibly Eminem, Axel Foley. Of course, you also have ICP.
Yes.
And then Kid Rock.
And the whole band of juggalos.
And the Juggalos are really the group of people, ironically, maybe, surprising, definitely, the nicest folks in Detroit.
Yeah, probably.
Between Eminem's audience and Kid Rock's audience, I don't know if I want to hang out with the Juggalos.
Yeah, they get a little sassy.
Well, I trust that they would help me, though. If I'm on fire, yeah, it would be piss and spit, but I do think they would put me out.
Yeah, piss them out.
Piss him out. Drink some Faygo. Piss this guy out.
You'd have to put on some face paint for that to happen.
Whoa, how do you think I got lit ablaze? Put oil.
Not the oil paint.
Oil paint all over my face. So they are now being charged with smuggling in goods to the U.S. and making false statements. Han is the third Chinese scientist to be charged with smuggling illegal biological materials, specifically into Michigan.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Again, I think this story should be slightly larger, as one person could argue that COVID was indeed an act of war against the entire world. It wasn't presented that way, but definitely there is an angle that could have been presented that way that would have led to Dub 3 without a doubt. Yunqin Jian and Zhangyang Liu, they were both caught last year, allegedly trying to smuggle in samples of a dangerous crop-killing fungus. Ooh. That's according to the FBI.
This is annoying that she got all the way to Detroit before she got caught. Like, I can't even go with my shaving cream. Like, this person's bringing on spores?
Well, if she was working with the Chinese government, she's taken off out of Shanghai. They set her up. They sent her here and said, hey, Americans aren't smart enough. They're not going to find the spores. But the spores we found indeed.
But they look like they're in cocaine bags.
Well, that's the other problem.
If they brought it in something else, they might have not got caught.
National security insiders are calling this, quote, an attack on U.S. food supply, which is not a good idea for us.
We need our food.
We need our food, number one. Number two, which is what it creates, it is already astronomically expensive. And I would imagine if millions of crops were ruined because of a fungus planted by the Chinese government, that would only increase prices and, of course, cause massive harm to Americans all across the country. So what kind of biological materials were there? It contained material related to roundworms.
Oh.
So it was going to be a bunch of roundworms, I guess, that would spring up and cause mass devastation to farm fields all over this country. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. When it comes to war, you know, we think about bombs, we think about automation, we think about robots, we think about all these very real things as well. But there is no denying that biological warfare, it's really the war of the future. And again, as we saw with COVID, I think it's already kind of happened.
Yeah. You don't think about crops being a target, I guess. You always think about like financial institutions, all that stuff. The Twin Towers all went down.
Right.
And they're like, I'm going to get old McDonald.
Well, you do wonder also, because Monsanto owns all of our crops and knows everything that's been planted in our ground, obviously ruining the mom and pop farm for a very, very long time, devastating regions like Iowa and Wisconsin. You wonder if Monsanto, because they're like, oh, you're going to threaten us?
Yeah.
I don't think so, China. So they're the ones who are like, FBI, go do your job. They got spores coming in.
Monsanto probably has their own army that'll go fuck people up.
They do. They do, as a matter of fact. They definitely do. Yeah. And if a farmer has the audacity of not give the seeds back that they weren't able to plant that season, they'll be fined and charged with theft and arrested and probably killed. And also, if a seed goes onto another farm's land because of the wind, because of nature, Monsanto will fine that individual as well.
Jesus.
So they are a horrible, horrible group of people who have created some of the most insane genetically manufactured foods in the history of the world. So Han, who is bringing in these spores, which also make me think of, what's the video game, Last of Us?
Oh, yeah.
I hate the idea of spores. Makes your head all freaking weird. I don't like that. You got a bunch of stuff you got to pop full of pus.
Oh.
Yuck. Han, she lied to officers and said she didn't send packages to members of the Michigan lab, according to court documents. She also claimed the packages contained plastic cups rather than petri dishes. So the packages that she sent were sent in both 2024 and 2025 to a laboratory in Michigan, that of course being the University of Michigan. Then the FBI and Homeland Security investigators, they grilled Han, and then she admitted to shipping the biological materials to the lab from her research as a PhD student from the College of Life Science and Technology in Wuhan. Then investigators discovered that Han deleted the content of her electronic devices 3 days before she landed in the U.S. So she sent a couple of things. She sent literally a couple of seeds, a couple of spores, and then she sent herself. They say, this is according to Gibson, a special agent in charge of the FBI Detroit field office. They say the alleged smuggling of biological materials by Han is a direct threat to public safety and national security, and it severely compromises the integrity of our nation's research institutions. They say, I applaud the relentless efforts of the FBI Detroit Counterintelligence Task Force, working in close coordination with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And of course, that involves ICE, which we will talk about momentarily in regards to immigration and a bit of the boogeyman that has become the Mexican. The FBI in Michigan will aggressively pursue anyone who seeks to harm our country and will deploy every available resource to defend the United States and protect our communities.
It is crazy. I don't really think about it, but I'm sure other people have. Thinking about people coming from other countries that are reporting back, they might be compromised, and they're reporting back on the research that they're doing in America.
Yep. Well, that's why I want to see a bipartisan congressional effort to figure out exactly. Oh, it's got, what is his name? 5 letters, Fauci. I want to know exactly where the kickbacks were. We know that guy made a lot of fucking money during COVID. And despite the fact he's now backpedaling and saying, I never said close schools. I never said have home confinement. I never said any of this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you did. And he made a lot of frickin' money. And also he was the one who refused to acknowledge that it most likely came from a lab because, of course, his scientific efforts were often at play in said labs. All right, before we get to immigration, let's move on to automation. Los Angeles. There's a lot going on here this weekend.
Yeah.
There's also what's being called a guerrilla war against robot taxis.
A lot of them got destroyed.
Yes. This is amazing. So these aren't the cars on the 101 getting smashed with rocks from the highway. Kyle told me apparently those were decorative rocks that they decided to put on the bridges, which is not a good idea.
Yeah, no, it was a bad idea.
We'll talk about that in a second. So this is in an affluent Los Angeles beach suburb. You may have heard of it, Santa Monica. Evidently, Santa Monica has seen a massive rise in robot taxis. And apparently these robot taxis, beep, 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 it's become inescapable. The residents of Santa Monica are losing their fucking minds.
Oh, wow.
So they say it permeates kitchens as families try to make breakfast. It drifts through windows at lunch, going as far as invading bedrooms at night, making sleep impossible. It's crazy because a lot of these people, I'm sure, voted for this exact thing. Waymo, it's a self-driving taxi firm owned by Google, owned by Google's parent company, rather, Alphabet. They moved 2 charging station car parks into the residential area, right? And evidently, the beeping is incessant because it beeps every time it reverses. So because of this, homeowners are losing their frickin' minds. Many homeowners are fighting vigilante justice. They refuse to give their names, but one person referred to himself as Stacker One.
Stacker One?
Stacker One, like
Whoa.
like a medication you use to instead of steroids to get buff.
Call me Stacker One. My name's Philip, but I like Stacker One a little bit better.
I like Stacker One. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I feel like a G.I. Joe, but like one that doesn't really go to war, but does like the morning radio show.
Yeah, no, I stack all the laundry.
Yeah, I love the Autistic Navy. So his methods, this is what he does. It includes walking at a snail's pace up the alleyway to a charging lot. He thereby stacks the cars by slowing them to a slow crawl, right? Waymo, it's passed its milestone of 10 million paid rides this year. They are trying to get a restraining order against him because they say he's harassing company staff.
Can you get a restraining order from a car?
I don't know.
Wow.
I guess the car, I've seen Knight Rider. We've all seen Transformers.
Yeah.
Also, what's being done to contain these cars is traffic cones. So apparently, if you just put traffic cones in front and behind it, it doesn't know what to do, which makes it seem like really not fun as a passenger. If you are in a car, it's like one traffic cone can cause this entire thing to be destroyed.
Yeah.
According to Nancy Taylor, she's 74. She lives in an apartment she has for 4 decades. She was retired. She had her dog, Miss Bess, and a white Cairn Terrier mix. Her living window overlooks one of the charging lots, and she's losing her frickin' mind. Look at this woman. And her dog is traumatized. Her little dog, Miss Bess, is like, I haven't slept in weeks. So she says, I don't understand with all the technology of having a robot car that they don't have the technology to built in the software when they're in the lot, the beeping stops. It makes no sense. Taylor has installed blackout curtains because the lot beneath her also makes her window look like the Las Vegas Strip. Baby! So everyone is pretty upset. Some vandalism obviously has occurred. And Waymo, the company, hasn't said anything really. A spokeswoman for the city of Santa Monica says they were not obligated to tell us since they're renting it from a third party. That is in regards to the lot who is now subleasing to a third party. So the lot was like, I don't know, we're just going to sublease it to this company, and then that company sublet it to Waymo.
Wow.
So basically all hands are clean as the beeping continues. Does remind me a little bit of an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer goes slowly crazy with the neon chicken sign.
Oh, yeah.
According to the spokeswoman for Santa Monica, they say they've been good. They said they've been good partners overall, keeping us well informed on various matters and have engaged with us to mitigate the impacts of this site on the neighbors. However, again, it is not going unnoticed that they have done, quote, diddly squat to stop the beeping. That is according to Taylor. There's also Chris Potter. He's a 52-year-old musician, not magician. That reminds me of that one viral clip.
Yeah.
You're a magician? No, you're a musician?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that is.
What's the name of that? Bobby, right? Bobby something?
Oh, yeah.
She does the deadpan.
Yeah.
That clip is very fucking funny. I haven't watched any of her show, but that clip is very... I'm not a musician. How you said I make music? And she's like, I think that means you're a musician. Anyway, that was crazy. So... Chris Potter, a musician, launched an online petition demanding action over the noise. They say, I just hear this low pulsing sound all the time, and it is making me, again, go crazy. He says he has witnessed Stacker 1 in action.
Stacker 1 at it again.
Yeah. The anonymous operator said he resorted to such tactics in response to the incessant noise. He says sleep deprivation, Stacker 1 said, is a form of torture. So there you go. That's happening in Santa Monica right now as we adjust to the new world that is the official future and the present. And it is very dumb and very beepy.
Well, Santa Monica they have a lot of annoying people, so I don't feel too bad about it.
No, I don't. And again, that's why. I mean, I do because they are citizens.
Yeah.
And they deserve, you're going to yell at that 74-year-old chick with the dog that's about to have a heart attack.
Oh, she's okay.
I mean, she's probably a super annoying, I can't even, you know what I always say, is a super annoying person with a lisp, but see you next Thursday, a cunt. She's probably one of those.
Maybe.
But when it comes to electric vehicles, the science is coming in. Trust the science. Remember that? Trust the science as long as it says what I want it to say. And then I say, I don't trust the science.
Exactly.
People drive everyone nuts. Okay. So this is a couple of reasons why electric cars are not as good for the environment as many people have said. What's interesting now that Elon has tarnished his reputation so much, people are now feeling carte blanche to come forward and say, that's right, the e-cars aren't going to save our environment. As a matter of fact, California has very strict e-battery dumping laws. So we just dump all of our stuff in Nevada and Utah.
Wow.
It doesn't change anything.
Jeez.
So battery production causes a lot of pollution and slave labor. Electric car batteries require lithium, cobalt, and nickel. All of this is mined in very, very poor parts of the world by very, very poor people, in many cases, children.
Yeah.
Electricity is obviously not always clean. A car can run on electricity, but where is that from? Well, believe it or not, power plants still burn coal and natural gas to produce electricity.
Yeah.
This means that charging electric cars can still contribute with air pollution and global warming.
Yeah, apparently there's no such thing as ethically sourced cobalt. Like, it's very bad, it's very hard to get, and the people who do get it are getting sick and killed.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So battery disposal, obviously also a massive problem. It's going to lead to forever pollution. You can't exactly, maybe you can recycle a battery 1 or 2 or 3 times. At some point, it's going to have a shelf life and it will no longer be capable of running a car. So if not handled correctly, toxic chemicals from the old batteries, they'll leak into the environment and harm people and animals. High energy consumption in manufacturing, making electric cars uses a lot more energy than making non-electric cars. And of course, limited battery life leads to more waste. It's just, back in the day, you used to buy a suit for life and now you buy a suit for a weekend and throw it away. And you hope the marriage doesn't, no, marriages can last.
Yeah, sure, sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
Less than 50% of the time now.
Yeah. Even less than that if you get married under 30. So I want to get married at exactly 91.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'll be like, I can get a divorce. You can divorce whenever you want. So more demand for mining resources since electric cars need rare materials. Again, a lot of deforestation, destruction of ecosystems, pollutions of rivers, increased use of toxic chemicals that is going into our air and soil. Charging stations depend on fossil fuels still. Tire and brake pollution, because electric cars also produce pollution from their tires and brakes. As the tires wear down, there's tiny plastic particles that go into the environment that inevitably might find their way to a football field near you.
Oh.
You remember those little pebbles they use? Apparently, there's a lot of football players potentially suing, I suppose, who are claiming they have lung problems.
No.
Because those little plastic rubber pebbles are getting into their lungs and shit like that, because every time they dive, it goes into their mouths.
How deep are you breathing?
Well, they got to breathe. They're tired. They're tired. And, of course, electric cars are not fully sustainable yet. So there is no perfect answer when it comes to helping and fixing the environment. Just wanted to point that out for the people of Santa Monica and for people across the country. There might be a beep, beep, beep coming your way. So just be prepared. Waymo, they track everything. They know everything. You thought Google was bad. Wait for alphabet. Scumbags.
Wait for Stacker.
Stacker One. Stacker One, if you're listening, come on the show.
Yeah.
We'll hide your voice and I don't know, you can talk with your butt like Ace Ventura did, so no one will know it's you unless, of course, you have a very nice glute.
Yeah.
In which case they'll be like, that's Stacker One's butt. I would recognize that butt anywhere. Okay, let's move on and talk about the biggest news of the weekend. Obviously, in Los Angeles, what's happened here? There was protests outside of the ICE headquarters as Donald Trump and his administration has pushed ICE to go and detain undocumented folks here in the area. The issue is coming with not necessarily the criminals being deported or detained or people who have broken the law. The issue is now coming because many people who are Latina that are going through the process of proper immigration channels are being caught up in this net. So we will talk, obviously, you have the horrific images on television and the internet. Again, zoom in is very real on these cameras. We are in Los Angeles. We've all gotten calls from our family being like, are you okay? Everything is fine.
Yeah.
The media is going to, of course, fan the flames literally. And if you look at a lot of the footage on the front lines of the police, it's all people with cameras.
Yeah.
But it is a serious issue. And of course, we want human beings to be treated with respect and dignity. This is an interesting story I want to bring up. Latinas for Trump co-founder. She is now quite upset. Her name is Alina Garcia. She is a senator, a state senator out of Florida. Okay, she has issued a sharp criticism of Donald Trump and his tactics, regarding what's going on in southern Florida. She says, quote, "This is not what we voted for. I have always supported Donald Trump through thick and thin. However, this is unacceptable and inhumane. I can already see and almost hear the eyes rolling from the Latina community who are like, what are you doing, bitch?
Yeah.
Why are you supporting this guy? He's actively saying that he's going to deport people who are here undocumented. And of course, Donald Trump did say, and this is why I am angry with him, did say that he was going to keep it with criminals, people who have broken the law, and folks who are a danger to society. It seems as if that net has expanded quite large, and that's where a lot of the issue is coming. So she goes on to say, I understand the importance of deporting criminal aliens, but what we are witnessing are arbitrary measures to hunt down people who are complying with their immigration hearings, in many cases with credible fear of persecution claims, all driven by a Miller-like, of course, that's Stephen Miller, who is truly, like, I would never want to hang out with Stephen Miller.
Nah.
The only time I would like him is if it's, like, really, really hot and he enters so it can cool down. I feel like he brings a cold breeze wherever he goes.
Chilly man.
Maybe he is of the devil, so maybe it's a heat. I don't know. I know a lot of Satanist-type people, so it's hard to get a gauge on if they're cold or hot.
Yeah.
Definitely douchey. So she says this is all driven by a Miller-like desire to satisfy a self-fabricated deportation goal. She goes on, this undermines the sense of fairness and justice that the American people value. Now, what is she talking about when she mentions people who are afraid of persecution if they are sent back? Well, this goes to the U.S. Supreme Court and to the U.S. Constitution. So the federal law in the United States says, quote, it shall not expel, extradite, or otherwise affect the involuntary return of any person to a country in which there are substantial grounds for believing the person would be in danger of being subjected to torture. So basically, if the person comes here and they're like, they really hate me over there, and if I go back, I am fucked, the U.S. cannot then deport them back. It's a humanitarian position that the U.S. has held for a long, long time. It was more than 3 decades that it's been held. Now, however, the Trump administration wants to go forward with the Supreme Court and challenge that and want the court to hear if they can continue to deport people back to El Salvador, for example, even if that individual says that they are going to be at risk of torture if they go back. So the Trump administration is trying to use a loophole, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court and ask if they can use that loophole in order to allow them to continue to deport people back to some nations that aren't even their home.
Well, if a lot of people are saying that, then I feel like everyone's going to start saying that. So,
Well, sure, and that it's difficult to get, proof and things like that.
yeah.
But there is definitely, for a long, long time, it was called people who were seeking asylum, right?
Right.
And they were treated differently than people who were here to, again, sell drugs, kill our kids, and do all of those horrible things.
Sure.
We can break down a little bit of criminal statistics in a second. But now the Supreme Court potentially will weigh in on if the Trump administration has the right, despite the fact that it's against U.S. law to deport people who say that they will be punished if they go back to their homeland. When it comes to crime rates, obviously, I think most people know this, undocumented migrants are about half as likely to be arrested for violent crimes in the U.S. Now, the pushback of that, of course, is saying any number of crime done by undocumented people never should have happened in the first place.
Right.
But the idea that they're all out there, raping and killing our children, it is bombastic and overblown for political reasons. According to the Cato Institute, which is, of course, no liberal think tank, it's the Cato Institute, their analysts showed that undocumented immigrants were 26% less likely than U.S.-born people to be convicted of homicide, specifically in the state of Texas, and that is from 2013 to 2022. So there is a lot of politics at play that doesn't necessarily go with the numbers. When it comes to immigration and what do undocumented immigrants bring to the country economically, they say they bring about $96 billion annually.
Yeah.
Which is big. However, they also say that they cost about $130 billion annually with housing, medical care, things of that nature. That is why, they need to be paying taxes. Obviously, they pay taxes if they buy goods here, but we need to streamline to citizenship so people working will do exactly what we do, which is have the government rake us over the coals. Every frickin' April.
Well, yeah, and I think if a lot of programs are made to help the poor, so the poor here, a lot of the poor people here wouldn't be like, get them out of here because they're getting benefits that we should be getting.
Sure.
Because that's scapegoating at that point.
Oh, poor versus poor. It is. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It is a class war, not a race war. And the more that we see it as a race war, the more the classes win. I guarantee you that Snoop Dogg and Donald Trump have more in common.
Oh yeah.
Than anybody else.
Yeah.
Like it's money, money, money. They hang out with each other. We're all in our own social classes, and it is a caste system in the U.S. Despite the fact that we might not, have it so blatantly rigid as a place like India, but the caste system in the U.S. is very real, and that's why it's so extremely difficult for people, from, low economic means to shoot all the way up.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes when they do, they shoot all the way back down as well. So it's an interesting time indeed. So when it comes to the politics of this, Donald Trump, his administration has blasted Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. I know some people who have met Karen Bass personally, and apparently she's not very nice.
Scientologist.
Yeah, she loves Scientology.
Yeah, and when homeless people were destroying my truck, we kept emailing her, and she's like, don't worry, we're working on it. And
Yeah, they're not.
It got stolen.
She's a horrible mayor.
Yeah.
But again, everyone's pretty much horrible.
Yeah.
So Trump administration officials, they fired back at Mayor Karen Bass. Of course, Donald Trump, now they have sent 2,000 National Guardsmen, and there will be 700 Marines showing up on the streets of Los Angeles, which, oh my goodness, and hopefully things can maintain a level of peace. It has not been that crazy so far.
No.
We lived through Minneapolis. We've lived through many, many riots. I've been in again, media is really going to make things out to be quite dramatic. I don't think anyone's been killed. I don't even think there's really been any injuries. There's been some property damage, some looting, things that aren't good, but it hasn't been insane at this point, at least my understanding.
Yeah, there was a woman that's shot in the head by the rubber bullet. But
from the
that was
rubber,
it.
a
Yeah,
journalist.
that's
That's not good. So yeah, let us know in the chat, by the way, if, what your thoughts are on all this, because again, it's a moving story, and I know in next episode we'll have a lot more information. So Karen Bass says, we will not stand for this when it comes to a statement released on federal immigration authorities arresting of 44 people. She says, I am deeply angered by what has taken place. She says her office is in close coordination with immigrant rights community organizations and people of that nature. Again, they bring up Stephen Miller as the architect behind this. Stephen Miller shot back saying, you have no say in this at all. Federal law is supreme and federal law will be enforced. Now, because of this, Bass says they're illegals, not immigrants. One just tried to burn Americans alive in Boulder. That was according to Sebastian Gorka. They're illegals, not immigrants. One just tried to burn Americans alive in Boulder, as Bass and Miller and Gorka continue to go at it on X, which is exciting. Sebastian Gorka, by the way, what a goof.
Yeah?
My friend, my buddy does a fantastic Gorka.
Ooh.
A real fantastic Gorka. You got to do it. You got to love it. So, because of all this, now we have Governor Gavin Newsom coming up. And Governor Gavin Newsom has said, hey, arrest me, Donald. I don't like you guys being here. Arrest me.
He's like, come and get me.
Come and get me. And I just have to say, please don't, because that's exactly what he wants.
Yep.
He's not going to Guantanamo. It's going to be a photo op just like, Greta Thunberg got. And it's not going to do anything whatsoever to help the situation.
He'd love to get some martyr status going.
Oh, that's exactly what it wants. And now being arrested, they saw what happened with Trump. They're like, oh, being arrested's good.
I want a mugshot.
Yeah. So the Los Angeles immigration raids has sparked massive protests. This is according to U.S. Attorney Bill Esseley. They say federal agents were executing a lawful judicial warrant at a L.A. work site. Again, I don't want them going to work sites.
Yeah.
Those are the people we need.
I know, and then it takes the company down too.
Exactly. Go to the places that where are the criminals?
Yeah.
Go to the criminals. And I think that was also one of the issues that the Latina for Trump in Florida was saying. They're like, you're going after the easiest people, the people who are out there in public working.
Yeah, but also the companies that are using people like this, it's not like they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart to help the undocumented people who are struggling.
No,
they're taking
using it for
advantage.
cheap labor, of course.
They're taking advantage massively.
I mean, slave labor.
Yeah.
Slave labor, the cornerstone of our workforce for a long, long time. So that is where Bill Esseley says he was arrested for interfering with federal officers and will face arraignment in federal court on Monday. That was regarding David Hurta, who deliberately obstructed their access by blocking a vehicle from ICE so it would not enter a LA work site. So that person, the people in the work sites, I don't think that they should be the ones in the crosshairs of ICE. But again, they have this arbitrary number from the Trump administration. They have to make their quota. And when that's the case, anyone will do. And I think even the most staunch, anti-immigrants, no, maybe not the most staunch, moderate anti-immigrant Americans or anti-undocumented immigrants in America don't believe that this is the right way to go about it.
Right.
You have to, again, if someone is a criminal, they are a criminal and need to be charged as such. And this is also where Democrats have messed up so frickin' much. When it comes to the individual that made headlines, the man who had a margarita with the Maryland senator, this is where the Dems shoot themselves in the fucking foot. Because it turns out this guy is an actual total scumbag.
Oh, boy.
So Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, he met with alleged member Kilmar Abrego Garcia in El Salvador.
Oh, man.
Garcia was sent to El Salvador, even though he isn't really from there, I don't believe. But anyway, that was in an ICE raid. For some reason, the Democrats and the left decided to make this man the face of their undocumented immigrant disdain for the Trump administration, which I just don't understand.
They got to do their research, man.
Do
They
you?
always fail.
Yes, because this guy is accused of soliciting nude photos from a minor, playing a role in a murder of a rival, and so on and so forth.
But he's a hairstylist.
My God. So this just makes everything that they said look awful, and it completely kneecaps their argument that good people are being deported when the one person they decide to highlight is a schmuck. He's a schmuck.
Yeah, and a human trafficker.
Oh, God, this drives me nuts. So, Attorney General Pam Bondi, she says that the Maryland man, Abrego Garcia, is now going to be facing charges in the U.S.
Yeah, that one congressman that went, he's like, I'm not coming back till he comes back. And now it's like, all right, now you get on the same plane. He's going to go to the courthouse.
Well, they should probably both be investigated for messaging minors. Yeah. Oh, my Lord. So as Chris Von Holland pretends to be the white knight saving everybody he possibly can, the person he saved is currently being investigated by federal prosecutors in Tennessee who have asked a magistrate judge for a pretrial detention in a hearing of human trafficking. So it is, again, the politics, and when politicians get involved, everything gets dumber. And this man, this senator from Maryland, did a horrible job of representing his constituents, representing himself, and representing good people who have been deported or detained by the Trump administration because, again, the person they highlighted is someone who very few people would want on the streets of their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to being around children. So this filing from Tennessee came from Magistrate Judge Barbara Holmes. She told prosecutors Abrego Garcia's initial court appearance that crimes alleged in the indictment did not presumptively entitle the government to a detention hearing. Abrego Garcia was brought back to the U.S. from his native El Salvador. Of course, you remember the El Salvador photo op where they were drinking margaritas, and apparently Garcia was like, they just put them on the table. They didn't actually drink them, and I don't even think they weren't real.
Oh my!
It was just a prop. Following a series of court battles with the Trump administration, and again, so now he has been deported, he's been brought back, and now he will be facing charges in the U.S. So if I was him, I would be like, I don't even know what's better. Yeah. I know El Salvador is some of the worst prisons in the world, but the U.S., maybe it's better. I don't know.
I'm sure it's a little bit better, but
maybe. I feel like it'd be easier to escape in El Salvador. The U.S., you don't really get to escape anymore. Although there's one people did. Like, what was it? Like 10 guys just recently did.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
That was kind of fun. I always secretly root for the ones escaping, but those guys, they're bad.
They're bad.
It is kind of crazy, though.
Yeah, they wrote too easy on the wall.
Yeah, they wrote T-O, okay?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, they wrote too, that was the media lies. They would be like, T-O-O. He's like, no, that's not what they said. They said too easy, as if easy was a person they were sending that to. God forbid.
Too easy from us.
Yes. But honestly, it really was too easy. Behind a fucking toilet. Oh, Lord. According to a filing, they said there would be a testimony regarding Garcia, his alleged co-conspirators. They say he would sometimes travel with young children and or family members as cover for his illegal trafficking, and that children were often seated on the vehicle's floorboard so that the alien transportees, and again, I hate the term alien, but whatever, that's what it is, alien transportees who had paid other co-conspirators for the travel could have seats. This would allow more paying, quote, aliens to be transported and increase financial gain of the conspiracy. That is according to actual court filings. So that is their terminology. It's a very small worldview to think of someone from Mexico as an alien.
Yeah,
I mean, from Mars, they're very close by. It's very, very close by. Anyway, so that is where we are right now. We will keep you updated on what's going on. We pray that it doesn't get worse here in Los Angeles. And again, I was watching at a local joint, drinking my Guinness Zero. Which, by the way, if you're not drinking alcohol, Guinness Zero. It still gives you the beer shits.
Near perfect, yeah.
It really does. It really does. I had 3 Guinness Zero. Also, I have the placebo effect. I was like, I think I'm feeling kind of buzzed. No, it wasn't. But then this morning at 6 a.m., I was like, oh my God, the beer shits are back.
Bubble guts.
Just when I missed them. Because they really do help clean the system out. They really do. Anyway, we will keep you updated. And, of course, you never like to see any flames or violence or, things are going to... the people who have the most amount of ammo are going to be the state, and they certainly will use it. It was interesting. Again, I was at this local spot watching that football game, the USFL game.
Oh yeah.
And they'll be like, I agree. I don't necessarily disagree with the sentiment, but get off the 101. And I do think that's aggravating for a lot of people when you shut down a highway where you have working class folks just trying to get, maybe to work or back to work or whatever.
Or people are sick, they're going to the hospital. There's emergencies happening. Like, Jesus.
And so I understand you want to make a point, but I also understand why some people would be super fucking annoyed when the 101 is, shut down.
Don't fuck up the common man's day, because you're going to turn people against you who might agree with you.
Yes, we must again. The people in power are not on the 101.
Yeah,
not at all. They're in the skies and the helicopters.
Yep.
And the planes above. All right, let's go to our chat. What do we got, folks? Anyone disagree? Agree? What's the story here?
Cece just came back from the protests in LA right now. So
okay,
just getting here. Not saying much about it.
What is media getting wrong? Is media getting anything right? Can you let us know, CC?
Yeah, a lot of people saying, good job, welcome back, stay safe.
Please stay safe.
On earlier stuff with the people who are getting arrested for bringing spores on the flights, Pano said he's been on 6 flights in a row with matches in his pocket.
With matches?
Yeah.
Well, it's not so bad.
Jeff is saying the surprise matches don't trigger some sort of detector.
Yeah. Can you take a plane down with matches? You probably, maybe.
Well, the guy tried to do it with his shoes.
Well, yeah, that was a setup, though. That was a plot. That was an FBI plan, but that's a whole other thing.
Psyop.
It was.
Hysteric's saying, can you imagine being abducted from a robot car, the Waymo, because somebody boxed you in with a couple of cones?
I know. And then you got, what was that guy's name again?
Stacker
One. You got Stacker One. He's going to rescue you, I hope.
Yeah, Pano said Stacker One, the ultimate male performance supplement. And Jeff was asking if we heard about the protesters. They were ordering Waymo robo-taxis so that they could purposely set them on fire. So they were summoning them so they could destroy them.
See, now that's kind of what I'm talking about.
But then you have your credit card on file and you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, we can see now. This is where I remember watching T2, Terminator 2, at a very young age.
Me too.
And I said, I will destroy the machines.
Wow.
And I will fucking destroy one.
You made that promise that day.
I did. I really did when I was like 8 years old. That movie stuck with me, bro.
Yeah.
The opening scene of the skull being crushed, I was like, I'm in.
Oh, it's crazy.
I am fucking in, and I will be John Connor.
I think I'm going to be the person holding onto the fence as I fucking light on fire.
Yeah. I'm going to go out in my own fun way.
CC saying they shut down the ice field operations building for the day.
Okay.
It was peaceful.
Good.
A group arrived that walked for 3 days from Vacayville.
Wow.
I'm guessing that's Victorville.
Victorville, fantastic.
Vacayville in protest. So
I love that. Well, ICE isn't detaining, and again, the people, the cops, and even members of ICE. I'm sure there's a lot of scumbags involved, but there's probably a lot of people who are like, why are you ordering us to do this?
Yeah.
And the Marines going down there and the National Guard. You don't sign up for the National Guard to go and be on your own soil and go against your own people. And it's the same thing with the Marines. It reminds me, speaking of Terminator, speaking of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, it reminds me of Total Recall, it reminds me of Running Man.
yes.
Where there's like, they shoot on the crowd. He's like, I'm not shooting on the crowd. And they pretend that he did, and now he has to go have sex with a bunch of men.
Yeah.
Is that what that movie was about?
Now that there's 700 Marines coming, there's going to be a bunch of women going out there and assembling to service the servicemen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like Fleet Week in New York City, it's always like the girls that are like, take your pants off and I'm going to suck you off right now.
Well, yeah, those girls, they're always going after those Navy men, but those Navy men aren't interested in women. Come on. All right, is that about it?
I think so, yeah. They're saying peaceful is the key word, and everybody's happy about it.
Cece, thank you so much for going out there. Thank you for making your voice heard. And, again, this is not what even Trump supporters voted for. And we want everyone to be safe in this country. Yeah. And everyone agrees. If you're a criminal, you get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. But if you're out there building our buildings, thank you. All right. Well, that is this episode of OK Bud Politics. We will keep it going later on this week. We will have a new set coming out very soon, which I can't wait for. And anything else, Kyle?
I think that's about it.
All right. Hail yourself. Also, we're going to have some merch in the near future.
Yes.
That's so the next step is the studio. Then the next step is merch.
Yeah.
And then the next step, hopefully some live shows.
But
we are building, and we endlessly appreciate the support. We're going to beat all the negative motherfuckers out there and keep on spreading the good word. Hail yourself. Bye-bye.